Hey, Christy Mattoon here with Mind Rewire. Thank you for being here with me. As always, subscribe, like, and please share these videos. If they're helping you, they'll probably help somebody else. And that just helps the effort right around the globe for healing and taking better care of ourselves as humans. And so if you can share these, I greatly appreciate that. If you can like and subscribe to my channel, it helps my efforts on the channel. And I greatly appreciate that also. Today, I actually just got off a call from a young lady in India. She's been a client of mine for a while and just making breakthrough after breakthrough suddenly. And so I wanted to share this with you because it was really super powerful. And it was really about keeping your emotional home in order, right? And we've talked about the idea in psychology of the emotional home for years. I've heard it in different masterminds I've been in, this emotional home. You know, whatever you put into the system is what you get out kind of idea. But this came through a little bit stronger. And so I want to see if I can share it to you and if I can help you make a little bit more sense of this idea of the emotional home and the power and impact it can have on you and through different levels of your existence when you get this part right. So if you keep your emotional home in order, meaning your emotional state of being, happiness, sadness, love, hate, anger, rejection, fear, joy, peace, abundance, right? So we're talking about different ranges of emotion in the human system. If I keep that emotional home in order, you'll be healthy, right? We know this at this point. If a person is in a better emotional state, mentally and emotionally, in their head, heart, and gut, they will be a healthier person. Right? Things won't tend to go wrong when you're in a higher emotional attunement or a higher emotional vibration, right? Because you see things differently. Your perception is different. Oh, emotions are energy. Emotions are energy. If an emotion gets stuck, things go wrong. And we say this all the time. I've got something stuck in my system. I feel stuck. It usually equates to an emotion. If an emotion is energy, that means energy is stuck in your system. Energy is not flowing through this physical body, which is an electromagnetic field. So we have to get the energy flowing. If we can get the energy flowing, the unstuck happens and all of a sudden you feel better. Things change, yes? And I think most of us, especially if you're listening to me, you've experienced this before, right? So we're talking about things like chakras, the energy centers of your body. We know that they're there at this point, Western world. This is no longer voodoo. It's no longer sin. It's no longer demonic. We know these chakras exist. Energy centers of your body that line your spine, that help move emotional energy, that help move spiritual things in and out of the system. It's what they are. It's what they're there for. They make you thrive when the energy is moving. They make the physical body and probably even the soul sick when the energy is not moving. Okay? Your aura, the layers through your auric field actually mimic the layers of the chakra, right? The way I see them, when I physically see them, is the spectrum of color of your chakras, right? The rainbow spectrum of color. It's red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, right up the system, is also the layers through the 7 layers of the aura. If there's energy stuck, it appears a different color than what it should be, right? So if I'm looking through your aura and I see like a black patch, it doesn't necessarily mean evil. It means there's stuck energy. What the stuck energy is could be another question, but it just simply means the energy is not flowing. What do we do different in your system to get the energy flowing? This is part of your emotional home. Your aura, we know this is real. People take pictures of it all the time, right? We have cameras that can capture the essence of the electromagnetic field, not only in energy, but in color. So part of the emotional home, the aura through the system, your chakras, the energy centers of your body, as the Western world is now calling them because of the work of Joe Dispenza, and we bless you. Your meridians, every cell of your body holds information, right? Every cell of your body. And so every cell of your body is part of your emotional home. It's places where energy can get stuck, the secret dark places, right? The hidden dark places. We got to change out and swap the energy into a higher level of frequency and vibration. So the energetic home consists of the aura, the chakras, the space around you, your meridians, your brain. It produces chemicals that produce the feelings that you feel, part of what we consider emotionals from this physical state. Your heart produces chemicals that give you a feeling that is part of what you feel, that we call an emotion, that represents you in this physical world, in this physical state. Your gut is no different. It has, I'm trying to remember the right name for the word, neurites that reach out and collect information that give you a feeling, that gives you a representation of who you are in this physical world, in the physical state. If you assign those feelings, especially if they come from your gut and it's fight and flight, to your personality, I'm a fearful person. Now all of a sudden we've got some serious stuck energy because you're assigning whatever that was in the moment that you felt the word of fear to who you are as a person. And it's not something, it's not who you are, it's something you felt. It's not who you are, it's something you felt. If energy moves, emotions move. If emotions stay in a higher level of frequency, and this is a choice, it's actually something you can control, nothing gets stuck. So the idea that we get stuck and these emotions are stuck in our body happens, but it doesn't have to. Because once you recognize it, you say, okay, I'm going to train myself subconsciously, consciously, and otherwise. I'm going to train every cell in my body to vibrate at a different frequency. I want a higher level of motion throughout my entire system. And I go looking for something like unconditional love or that deep sense of peace. What is it? A peace that passes all understanding. Or joy, right? A greater joy. What do those things feel like? And then can you train yourself to stay in them? Now all of a sudden my emotional home alters, right? It changes. There's energy flowing through systems. The colors brighten up of the rainbow spectrum that helps create your electromagnetic field. Yes, right? It gets kind of exciting. So think about this as part of coherence, right? We talk about brain coherence and using ideas like a whole brain state, and there's many ways to get there. One of them is crossing your arms and legs. One of them is tapping on opposite sides of your body, right? There's all kinds of ways to create a whole brain state. Forgiveness throws you into a higher alpha brainwave, which is part of a whole brain state, and you can get there super quickly. Also, heart coherence. If I can get into heart coherence, or when I get into heart coherence, I create brain coherence automatically. The two are not separate, they happen together. If I'm only creating brain coherence, I'm not necessarily creating heart coherence, just so you understand. Right? So why does this happen? Why do we get caught with this negative emotion in our system? Here's the really easy skinny rub on this. Are you ready? You were not taught to. You weren't taught to. You weren't even taught how. You weren't taught how to stay in a higher frequency. You weren't taught that you could. You weren't taught that it was a frequency. You weren't taught that it was something you produce and not something that somebody else has to give to you. Yeah? You weren't taught that. You weren't taught love. You weren't taught peace. You weren't taught joy. You weren't even taught happiness. You were taught how to be in lack, how to be in fear, how to get angry, and then how to try and sort it out and fix it and turn it into love, how to gain respect, how to, right, fall in love, how to, I don't know, what are all the words we use to associate these ideas? You were taught to stay in a lower frequency because that's what our folks knew how to do. It's what they were taught. It's what the ones before them were taught. Staying in a higher frequency is acquired and is understood by knowing your own spirit. Your own spirit inside you, your own spirit, your spirit, the spirit of who you are. If I don't know that part of me, I don't know true love. If I don't know that part of me, I don't know joy. If I don't know that part of me, gratitude can be a cognizant thing, can be a conscious thing. I'm grateful for, I'm grateful for, I'm grateful for. And it does give you a higher representation, a higher vibration, a higher feeling, but it's not true gratitude. True gratitude comes from inside of you. True gratitude comes from that spirit. It's an attribute of you. It's an attribute of God. You are made out of the same energy. It's not different. It's the same. Yes? Okay. So if I'm an attribute of God, if my spirit is a representation, it's whole, holy, and complete. It's a representation of that. And I come to know my own spirit, and I try and walk in this plane of resistance in that spirit instead of whatever I was taught, right? The anger, the fear, the frustration, the hopelessness, the lack, the doubt, all the things that were created because we're taught you can't. And I come into an understanding of my spirit on this level. And all I'm doing is understanding it. I'm just feeling it. I'm just being there with it. And people will say, I can't feel. I can't get into my heart space. It's a catch-22. It's because you don't know your spirit, first of all, and you don't know your spirit because you can't feel. So we end up in this weird loop of trying and not being able to get there. How do you get there? You create a practice that becomes a daily walk. It's not something you sit down and do. It's something you start recognizing you are. I am that energy. I am that peace. I am that joy. I am that love. And in that place, you recognize your spirit. It's a direct line to God, and whatever word you use for that, right? I'm using the word God because that's what I learned. Source, creator, use whatever word you want, right? The interesting part about all this is when you learn how to stay in that higher frequency, and you understand that it's acquired by knowing your spirit, and that it's an attribute of who you are. You have to recognize it as you the human, in this human suit, being the spirit, being the essential energy body. It's not a physical body attribute. It's not a physical body attribute that you've been taught. Love isn't. Nobody can give you love. It has a feeling to it, and you're like, okay, that's the feeling I want. I'm going to go do more of that. And then you're always going and doing more of that. It never completes. Why? Because it's not your spirit. You have to first be so in love with your own spirit and know your own spirit, and it's an attribute of who you are. It becomes you instead of something you do. Love is not something you do. It's something you are. Does that make sense? Joy is something you are. Peace is something you are. It's an attribute of your spirit. It's not something you go do. Does this make sense? Love, peace, joy, any of these things is a learned emotion. Means I have to go do something, or I have to find somebody who can either give that to me, show that to me, teach that to me, give me that piece of me. And it's almost like we have to go do something and bring it. The reason this came up, the reason I wanted to teach this is because the call I was just on with this young lady, she said, well, how do I practice unconditional love? What do I do? And then she said, do I put on more makeup? Do I dress the part? I'm like, no, you missed the point. It's in you. You have to go inside. And this is what this whole period of time people in this space have been talking about. Go inside and feel it. Go inside and feel it. Find that part of you that represents God, that is whole, holy, and complete. That is that piece of you, that spirit that's just like, oh, that's the feeling. That's the thing. And then walk around in it. Practice it. If you want to get dressed up, knock yourself out. That's wonderful. If you want to put on makeup, knock yourself out. That's wonderful. If it makes you feel good and it gives you that better expression of chemical, I'm all for it. Do it. But recognize that's not true love. That's outside of you. We want to be inside, feeling and finding this place. Okay? Inside of you. My spirit is the totality of light. My spirit comes from that place in creator energy, creation energy, right? I am the same as that. It's not different. This physical suit that I walk around in is supposed to be the vehicle that moves me through this plane of reality. And somehow The powers that be, right, the negative forces and principalities of the world have swooped in and made us think we're something we're not. Through media, pharmaceuticals, media, even the music we listen to is pre-programmed to program us to think a certain way. The programming you watch on TV is pre-programmed to program us to think a certain way. The pharmaceuticals, we all know this. It's not even a question anymore. We know this, and yet we participate. How do you get out of the participation? How do you stop that programming? That's the greatest illusion. That's the biggest part of all this, that when you stop and stand back and really look at it and recognize it, the simple, fast, easiest way to get out of it is to come into your heart center, find your spirit, and don't walk away from it. Find it, practice being there until that love gets so big it becomes who you are and not something you do. Right? So think about the energy that you're made of, that you want to express. It is source energy. It is God's energy. It is creator energy. It is creation energy. It is universal energy. It's what we're made of. It's who you are, not something that you have to acquire, to get to be, right? You already have it. You just have to recognize it and then start walking in it, start trusting it. And that's another one, our lack of trust. It doesn't start because somebody else did something. It starts because you don't know your own spirit. It's where it starts. If I trusted myself and not this physical unit, not the junk in my brain, it has nothing to do with that. If I trusted the spirit part of me because I knew the spirit part of me, who would I be? What would I be doing? Come on now, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? If I don't know my spirit, I don't know any of these things. I don't know unconditional love. I don't know the peace that passes all understanding. I don't know true love. I don't know joy. I don't even know happiness. If I don't know my spirit inside of me, I don't know these things. I am the attributes of God. It's not something I go do. It's something I am because it's implanted deeply inside of me from the source, from the original, from the originator. Yes? When I was young, I heard my mother say this. I mean, she actually told me this a few times. Do you know why I named you Christy? And I was always like, I never really liked my name. And especially after she told me this, I didn't like my name. And then I fell in love with it because the idea is so powerful. She goes, I named you Christy, and I spelled it Christy because if you drop the I or drop the Y, it spells Christ. And I was just like, okay. And I'm young, right? I'm just like, I don't even know what that means. And then she goes, but you'll never get there. You'll never make it. You're not that good. Over and over, I picked up a phone call one day and I said, hey, how's it going? She's like, how are you doing? I said, I'm good. And she goes, how can you be good? Only Christ is good. Over and over. The negative programming, and bless her heart now, I bless her. I have so much compassion for her. I get it. She hurt too. But here's the deal. If you don't recognize yourself as the Christ energy, you won't get to that higher state. What is your purpose in life? It's not something in this plane of existence. It's another part of the whole illusion that you have a path in this existence. You do, and you can create all kinds of them. The possibility is endless. The field is infinite of things that you could decide to do over and over and over. Fail, create, fail, create, fail, create, 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 create. You could. Totally in the realm of possibility. But when you recognize yourself as that Christ energy, when you recognize that is in you, Christ in you means your spirit is part of that spirit. It's not separate. It's not different. It's the same. There's a scripture that says the way to the Father is through me, right? You have to come through me to get to the Father, meaning Christ. Christ is saying you have to come through me to get to the Father. If the Christ is in you, the only way to get to the Father is through you. I have to go in me, find my centered Christ consciousness, and then get to the Father, right? Which means I ascend, I move, I find a different value. I come into contact with these higher level spiritual emotions, not earthly emotions. It's different. And this is where we get hung up a lot of times, is we equate these emotions, these earthly emotions that we're taught, and we're trying to reach higher. We're trying to get back to source through those emotions. It doesn't work. Simply will not work. Through you is the Christ consciousness. Through you is the healing consciousness. Through you is the source consciousness. Through you is the universal consciousness. Through you is the attributes of God. Whatever word you want to assign it, if you can find that spark of light inside your heart, inside yourself, you will start a process of ascension that'll blow your mind. And it can be slow or it can be fast. It's up to you. It's all choice, yeah? I just found this super interesting, and this came through hard just a few minutes ago. This is actually the exact words I wrote down. The way to the Father is through me, meaning the Christ in me. It's through me, meaning the Christ in me. If I do it by religion, I go find Christ outside of me and I try to get to the Father through that, and it doesn't work, right? It causes issues. If I go through my own spirit, which is a spirit in Christ, now all of a sudden I get movement. And if you're a God person or not a God person, use your own words here. Associate what you associate to this. It will work the same way. It's the energy base that the substance we're made of, right? That's what we're talking about. You go straight in. There's no rabbis. There's no priests. There's no, I don't know, the social or counselors. And I can't even go into it. Years sitting in a psychiatrist's office. Nobody ever said, we're always working from the outside, trying to grab and fix this stuff. Never worked. And then take a pill to redo my chemicals, and it made me even worse. When all I had to do, if somebody would have said, let me take your hand and walk you inside and meet your spirit, let's put your hand on that, and then let's go. Let's go try it from a different angle. So what happened to this young lady this morning? I've been working to her for a while. We finally got her into a space where she understood, because some of this is understanding that you're like, what? And that's fine. You're just not there yet. You'll get there. I promise you, you will. And some of you are listening to me going, oh, that's it. That's the thing. I just got this understanding on the level that I just got it. And it made so much more sense to me that I'm just like, the freedom I feel right now is incredible. You can have that too. It's easy. There's some work involved. People equate easy with no work. There is work involved, but once you get it, you get it. It's like riding a bicycle. You don't have to redo it. Unless you choose to, then you can, but you don't have to, right? So anyway, I wanted to put this out there to you while it was fresh in my mind, and I'll keep trying to give this stuff out as it comes up. If you need help, contact me. If you want to do enough sessions to get you into this place where you're like, okay, I'm getting it. I'm starting to flow. We're getting some movement. Work with me, right? I do this 10-pack of sessions. There is a price tag to it. It's a lot of time on my end. I do work outside of our space together. But in our space together, you get understandings and things that will help you and make you move and soar. Right? So understanding, getting into that spirit and then staying in that space. And that's what we're doing, is trying to train your subconscious to recognize your spirit instead of recognizing the junk of the world that you were taught. Right? That's what we got to switch the level of vibration and then train it into the system. It's not something you do once and then just, you got to train it into your system. Right? And it's not an arduous task. It can be if you don't want to let go of your junk, but once you decide to fully stand back and put your hands up, it can happen super quick. I want to bless you. Thank you for being here. As always, thank you for listening. If this helps you, please circulate it. Put it in places where it can help other people. The understanding by itself is enough to trigger people into, right, I got it. If you've done enough work and all of a sudden you hear it, you go, that's the deal. That's the thing, right? Take it and run with it. Keep moving. If you need my help, contact me at Christy@mindrewire.com. I'll send you a link to book a little appointment, or you can go to my website at mindrewire.com, and there's a link up in the top right corner. Just click that link and grab a 15 or 30 minute slot, whatever you think is good. I don't know. I hope this blesses you. Be well.